Set 4 has been fully spoiled, so let's do our set primer for OP04, Kingdoms of Intrigue.
Card D Kaizoku.
I know my channel usually follows the English meta, but it's sad that the English side can't get excited for new cards at the same time as Japan. By the time a new set rolls out for us, things have already been figured out and tested in Japan. This also makes it so viewers in the regions that use Japanese cards have no reason to watch my videos. I want to make videos for you guys too, so I'm going to give my first impressions on OP04 without any bias of an existing meta. Things are more exciting and fun that way. 日本の視聴者の方もコメントをお願いします。We'll go over each color along with the leaders and notable cards contained within. Let's start off with red. Red's main gimmick seems to be based on Alabasta type characters. The card synergies are kind of all over the place. There are cards that play off Vivi's gimmick of being unable to attack. There are some that promote going wide with anthem effects, and there are even control options that KO when attacking. This color feels more like a supplemental color to existing red decks than it is its own archetype in OP04. The leader for red is Nefertari Vivi. Vivi is a dual color red-blue leader with 5k power and 5 starting life, a first for dual color leaders. Her card reads, this leader cannot attack. Activate main, once per turn, for 2 Dawn. Draw 1 card and up to one of your characters gain rush during this turn. So actually, all the leaders in OP04 are dual color. However, I'm putting her in red since the cards that do support her are also in red. Vivi is a leader that cannot attack. We saw them try to explore this with Iceberg in OP03. It's been a complete miss so far, so we'll see if they manage to salvage that mechanic in OP04. Red-Green Law from OP01 really sets the bar for the viability of dual color leaders. Law is pretty much the only dual color leader we ever see at a competitive level, so this leader ability has to be as good as Law's for this leader to even be considered viable. Unfortunately, I honestly don't think the trade-off in not being able to attack is worth being able to draw a card for 2 Dawn. But some notable cards in red include Chaka. For 1 attached Dawn, he both allows you to shrink something and also KO something with 0 power. The key distinction here is that it doesn't state that it has to be the same target, so you can give -3k to one character and KO a separate one. Though you'll usually be picking the same target, this does allow for some nice flexibility and combo potential with other cards. Chaka may even be worth it even without the KO portion, as it's basically a promo Gordon effect without having to have the card take up a slot in hand. The next notable card is Karu. He's like a starter deck Nami on crack. He allows you to put Arrested Dawn on each of your Alabasta characters. He does have to tap himself to do this though, so it's more of a one-time effect, as Karu will most likely not make it to your next turn alive. It's a shame the Alabasta cards can't really benefit much from this effect though. Next up is Bad Manners Kick Course. This is a card that can fit into existing red decks. Red gets its own 0-cost 3k counter. It's especially potent in red as there's a lot of event support already being run in current meta decks. Buggy and Nami searches for Kick Course. Marco can utilize it for revives. Red can play it pretty easily too, as the discard 1 cost is easily paid for due to how many cards in hand red decks end up having from playing so many searchers. Last up is Nefertari Vivi, one of the secret rares of the set. She's a 7 cost that gives rush to all your other red characters with a cost of 3 or more. She doesn't have too much impact on her own on the turn you play her, and she's actually quite vulnerable against other red decks being at 4k power. But her effect is really interesting. In a planet aligning dream scenario, one thing you can do on your following turn is play 3 Chaka who all gain rush, then a Karu to give them all 1 Dawn to activate their -3k and KO effects. You can stack up the -3k on one character until they reach 0 power to KO it or spread it around. That being said, I don't think the Alabasta package in OP04 is the best fit for her effect. She'll excel more in a big red style of deck that runs beefy vanillas and Whitebeard. Next up is green. Green is home to the Doflamingo card type in OP04. The Doflamingo archetype revolves around resting characters and untapping Dawn. Green might be the strongest color of the set. The synergies between the Doflamingo Pirates cards is apparent and sounds strong at face value. We'll for sure see Green's rise back to the top this set. For Green's leaders we have Donquixote Doflamingo. Doflamingo is a dual color green-purple leader with 5k power and 4 starting life. His leader ability reads, end of your turn, set up to 2 of your Dawn is active. This is an unconditional effect. You don't have to do anything. You just always have 2 spare Dawn on your opponent's turn. If we have to compare every dual color leader to the Law standard, Doflamingo might just be there. The leader ability gives you the option of playing event counters on any turn or even every turn. There are even new character cards that have Dawn effects that you can activate when your opponent attacks. This is a very strong effect as you will never know what the 2 Don will be used for, making it hard to play around. I'm also going to put Isho here. Isho is a dual color green-black leader with 5k power and 4 starting life. His leader ability reads, Don times 1, on your turn, give all of your opponent's characters -1 cost. End of your turn, for 1 Don, set up to one of your characters with the cost of 5 or less is active. His Don times 1 ability gives you nice utility for your black cards. His end of turn ability to untap a 5 cost or less is also quite potent since we have a history of examples where cards with effects like this are really strong. But the star of the show is actually Isho's color combination. Green and black basically fix each other's weaknesses. You can see my Isho leader reveal video for a more in-depth look. Some notable green cards include Sugar. She's an insane utility card. For just 2 Don, you can rest a 4 cost or less on play. Then on your opponent's turn, you can rest Sugar to tap an opponent's character when they play one. So for 2 Don, you essentially rest 2 cards. And the timing of these rests is ideal too, as resting on play lets you attack into a character on the same turn, and then not resting the second character until your opponent's turn means the second character will be rested once it's your next turn, freeing Don up for you to use to attack into it more securely. Next is Daddy Masterson. This may be my 7 cost kid bias showing, but untap effects like this always feel strong in my experience. We've seen this with 7 cost kid, Basil Hawkins, Odin, and even Film Bartolomeo. Untapping after attacking makes it so your opponent can't interact with your characters as easily. In a game where characters on board have more value than cards in life, this is a very strong effect to have for the price of 1 Don. With Daddy Masterson being a cheaper option at 4 cost, we now have access to this kind of effect as soon as our second turn if we're going second. Next is Diamante. Just copy paste all the good stuff I said about Daddy Masterson here. In fact, Diamante even has blocker, so he's quite literally a mini 7 cost kid. The only caveat being that you need 2 active Don along with 1 attached Don to gain access to the untap effect, but running him in a Doflamingo deck makes his untap effect all but guaranteed. Next is Lao Ji. Lao Ji gives us a very interesting effect for leaving Don up. At the end of your turn, if you have 3 Don up, he can KO any rested character with the cost of 3 or less. In a Doflamingo deck, you really only need to have 1 Don open as your leader ability will take care of the other 2. This is very strong against aggro decks. You can KO 1 threat with Lao Ji and then have Don up for event counters as well. Aggressive red decks will struggle against green for sure. Even against non-aggressive decks, Lao Ji can KO many early game cards like blockers thanks to the plethora of rest effects green has. Next up is Flapping Thread. What better way to utilize the 2 Don from Doflamingo's leader ability than by using this new busted 2 Don event counter. Flapping Thread only gives you 2k power for 2 Don, but this 2k lasts your whole turn. If you expect to get attacked more than once, Flapping Thread already provides you with 4k in power split between 2 attacks. So it only goes up in value from there per each attacker. It even has an aggressive trigger, allowing you to KO a 4 cost or less rested character. The other 2 Don event counter, Spiderweb, is also great. Current green decks run Paradise Waterfall for the utility in being able to untap something to keep it safe from further attacks. They also run Punk Gibson as a 4k counter. So what if we put these 2 things into 1 card? Genius. The trigger even gives you a Flapping Thread effect. I'm certain this card will replace Punk Gibson. There's also Donquixote Rosinante, the other secret rare of the set. Corazon protects all your 5 cost cards from KO effects while he's rested. He also can be rested on play to cheat out another 5 cost card. This combos really well with 5 cost Law from OP01 as Law can further cheat out another card from hand. He can also bring out an X-Drake to KO a rested character, or even just bring out a OP01 Yamato or starter deck Basil Hawkins as attack threats that are immune to KO effects until they can attack your next turn. Rosinante himself being an 8k body means your opponent will have to decide between investing a lot of Don to get rid of him versus playing characters to develop their board. Whew, the green section's pretty stacked, but finally we have 10 cost Donquixote Doflamingo. The first 10 cost green card, and his effect justifies the price. On play, he can make it so any 3 characters or leaders can't untap during your opponent's next refresh phase. Unless they play cards with Rush, this pretty much buys you an extra turn while developing a 10k body your opponent has to deal with. Then you can play a bunch of blockers or something on your next turn to really solidify Doflamingo's presence. At 10 Don, it may seem risky using up all your Don for the turn, but with Doflamingo's leader ability, you'll always have the reassurance of 2 Don available for an event counter, so it's almost always a safe drop on curve. Let's move on to blue. Blue feels more like a supplementary color this set. There's mainly support in here for a blue-purple Kaido. It's really great to see them print cards that support old OP01 leaders. Since there's no leader with a blue focus this set, it might as well be blue-purple Kaido. So let's go over the notable cards in blue. We have Who's Who. The Animal Kingdom Pirates finally has a searcher. It's a pretty standard 1-cost 5-card searcher, but a very much needed one. This will improve consistency in a Kaido deck and gives you early game options. Next up is Ulti. Ulti is Blue's answer to Red's aggression. Blue decks were already running Alvida for this purpose. This ulti does Alvida's job 10 times better. For starters, her stat line means she can attack into the enemy leader while using her when attacking ability with the Dawn attached. You can even attack into something like a Buggy without fear of a 2k counter saving him. On top of that, her when attacking ability gives you the option of bottom decking the target, which is effectively as good as KOing it. Ulti also frees up your Alvidas to be used as 2k counters instead. Next up is 3 cards actually: Queen, Ice Oni, and Playgrounds. These 3 cards are part of a combo and most likely will not see play without one another. We'll go over Queen first. Queen lets us search the top 7 cards of our deck for 2 Playgrounds or Ice Onis. At 7 deep, it's hard to whiff at this number, making this combo not difficult to pull off. Usually a combo that requires 3 cards would be hard to justify, but Queen gives us the much needed consistency to play it. The next piece of the combo is the Ice Oni that you can search with Queen. Ice Oni costs 8 for 0 power. That's horrible. It has a very nice effect though. Anything Ice Oni battles that cost 5 or less will be bottom decked at the end of the battle. So it's sort of like a living removal event that can target rested characters. But it takes a whole turn to be used due to summoning sickness. Even in hand, it has 1k counters, so you essentially draw free counters with Queen while also thinning out your deck by 2 cards. Next is Playgrounds, which will help deal with Ice Oni's 8 cost. Playgrounds is an effect that costs 2 and allows you to bottom deck a 4 cost card and play an Ice Oni. Ah, now the combo makes sense. Playgrounds gives you removal on the turn you play it and then sets up another potential form of removal through Ice Oni. This is a very cool combo and it has amazing flavor to the actual technique in the manga. The only downside is that this combo is basically useless if your opponent plays 6 cost or higher characters. I can just imagine scenarios where you have the full combo pieces as dead cards in hand while you're staring down a 7 cost Big Mom, 8 cost Katakuri, and a 10 cost Big Mom on board. Next up is Gum Gum Red Rock. So I've been secretly working on an OP03 Crocodile list, and 3000 Worlds from OP03 was one of my favorite cards in the deck. Red Rock is the 3000 Worlds your girl told you not to worry about. Red Rock can bottom deck any card, regardless of cost. It even has a 3000 Worlds effect as a trigger. This may now be the strongest removal card in the game. Lastly, we have Blue's very own 10 cost character in Kaido. Yes, another 10 cost Kaido. Kaido lets you bounce an 8 cost and a 3 cost back to hand. The bane of Blue has always been the 8 cost mark. Cards like Kid, Odin, Isho, and Katakuri gave Blue trouble. Blue just had no ways to deal with anything higher than 7. Kaido finally gives us that answer. It's not as good as bottom decking, but hey, he delays him 1 turn and he still comes with a 12k body. Moving on to our next color, we have Purple. Purple is filled with Baroque Works support and a small pocket of support for Water 7 as well. The Baroque Works cycle of cards in OP04 focus on Dawn -1 effects on your opponent's turn. It could just be because I'm bad at the game, but Purple feels like it gets shafted for yet another set. Let's go over the representative leader. Crocodile is a dual color purple-yellow leader with 5k power and 4 starting life. His effect reads, opponent's turn, once per turn. When a Dawn card on your field is returned to your Dawn deck by your effect, add up to 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and set it as active. So he enables a lot of the Baroque Works cards in OP04 by negating the cost of having to return 1 Dawn back to your Dawn deck on your opponent's turn. That already makes him pretty niche in use, as most of the good purple cards return a Dawn to your Dawn deck on your own turn. Then I guess you'll want to look at any existing purple cards that would benefit from this. But it's literally only Hell's Judgment, Blast Breath, and Uta. Okay, so the OP04 effects must be pretty good to warrant having a dedicated leader for this, right? You'll be sorely disappointed to find how pitiful some of these effects are. It ranges from giving one character minus 1000 power to just having a trigger that lets you play a character with a 4k body. Here are some of the notable ones at least. We have Miss All Sunday. She provides ramp, card draw, and is a 5k body. She even has a trigger that lets you play her. With Crocodile's leader ability, it actually only costs 1 return Dawn to play her via trigger. We also have Crocodile himself. He's pretty much the only card that utilizes the leader ability well. Even though he's a purple card, his on-play effect is very much a yellow one, allowing you to heal for 1 life. His Dawn -1 ability lets you cycle 1 card in hand whenever an opponent attacks, which is great, but then you realize with purple-yellow Crocodile leader that you only get to do this for free once. That's about it really. I have to literally lie to myself to be able to list any of the other purple cards in this set. This is even more of a miss than the Gali Law cards in OP03. We'll move on to Black. Black is home to the Dressrosa type in OP04. It looks like the Dressrosa cards have this theme of attacking active characters and milling cards from your own deck. The representative leader for Black in this set is Rebecca. Rebecca is a dual-colored black-blue leader with 5k power and 5 starting life. Her card reads, "This leader cannot attack. Activate main, once per turn, for 1 Dawn. If you have 6 or less cards in your hand, look at 2 cards from the top of your deck. Reveal up to 1 Dressrosa type card and add it to your hand. Then trash the rest." She also can't attack like Vivi. It seems both non-attacking leaders in this set focus on generating card advantage in the form of card draw. Rebecca's can search 2 cards deep, but it's restricted to Dressrosa cards, limiting the card choices you have for your deck if you want your leader ability to not be wasted. Luckily for us, the Dressrosa cards are pretty interesting. Let's take a look at some notable Black cards. First we have Yats! He's a 2k counter that can be played for 1 Dawn to allow another Dressrosa character to attack active characters. This is a very cheap price to pay to allow your characters access to attacking utility cards like Nami and Haruta that never attack, or for getting rid of blockers before they can get value out of blocking a stronger attack. Even trying to trade against a character before it can trade back against you can net you some big advantage. We know this is strong already due to Okiku pretty much allowing us to effectively do the same thing. Up next is Kairos. Kairos is an aggressive early card that can have up to 2 instances of super armor if you have both Rebecca Leader and Corrida Coliseum out. This allows you to attack with them freely and not worry as much about having to protect them after. His on-play ability allowing you to KO at 1 cost is just a bonus cherry on top of that, and since he's in Black, we have ways to lower character costs within range of his KO effect. There's also Rebecca. We get a Dressrosa Searcher in its maiden set, which really helps the archetype out a lot. She also lets us discard the remaining cards from the search, which will help fuel the cards coming up next. The first of which being Trueno Bastardo, Black's own jet pistol. With 15 cards in your trash, it allows you to hit a 6 cost, and in the hands of a Black deck, it's not hard to make any big character into a 6 cost. The trigger is also good, but only really for a Rebecca deck. There's also Barrier, Black's own Radical Beam. You can counter for 4k for 1 Dawn with 15 cards in your trash. Its trigger allows you to fix your hand and be up 1 card as well. And we can't forget about Monkey.D.Luffy. He can attack active characters and comes with a 7k body. He has access to an untap ability by returning 7 cards from trash to the bottom of your deck. Doing this once means you'll have to keep returning 7 Dawn to continue to use them, or else you'll have to risk him being rested for an additional turn. That being said, I think this Luffy will be more of a finisher type card to close out games. Using him early to generate favorable trades will knock you out of range for the extra effects for Trueno Bastardo and Barrier. It will be a delicate balancing act, as you may find it easier to just run only one of either type of card exclusively. Next we'll go over Corrida Coliseum. Probably the only noteworthy stage since Moby Dick and OP02. Corrida Coliseum pretty much gives all your Dressrosa characters rush that can only be aimed at enemy characters. Black has never been an aggro deck, so not being able to attack leader right away is not an effect we missed anything out on. Corrida Coliseum, along with effects that let you attack active characters, means no board is safe from you. The stage card even has uses outside of this due to its synergy with Kairos. Lastly, we have Sabo. Sabo is a beefy blocker that can make all your cards immune to KO effects for 1 turn. He also helps you cycle 2 cards, which helps you find answers and fills your trash to activate the previously mentioned cards. Since we're already clearing enemy boards with our characters before they can even attack back, the only way your opponent can interact with your board is with an on-play effect or attacking with their leader. But Sabo negates any on-play or event KO effects and can tank the leader hit himself due to being a blocker. The only thing to worry about is blue with their bottom decking effects. Our last color to go over is yellow. Yellow extends the Big Mom Pirates types and the Wano type. The Wano cards give you beneficial effects at the cost of 1 life, helping you reach Yamato's 2 life leader ability requirement. It also enables your Nari Kabura arrow to be online earlier as well, but at the cost of being low on life right out of the gate, which may be very risky. Oddly enough, Queen is our representative leader for yellow. Queen is a dual color blue-yellow leader with 5k power and 4 starting life. His ability reads, Dawn times 1 when attacking. If you have a total of 4 or less cards in your life area in hand, draw 1 card. If you have a character with a cost of 8 or more, you may add up to 1 card from the top of your deck to the top of your life cards instead of drawing 1 card. He has an aggressive draw effect that encourages you to attach Dawn to leader and attack while netting you card advantage in the process. In the early game, this helps out immensely as you can run all the yellow cards with triggers that let you play them at the cost of discarding a card from your hand. This cost can be recuperated through your leader ability, while encouraging you to pressure your opponent's life with 6k attacks. Queen's ability has extra utility in the late game when you start playing your 8 cost Katakuris and 10 cost Big Moms. The draw effect becomes an optional heal 1 life effect, prolonging your leader's durability. We've already seen games that become impossible to win once 10 cost Big Moms are in play that push yellow leaders further and further out of lethal range. Enough about the leader though, here's some other notable yellow cards. We have Sanji, yet another 4 cost yellow card that can be played on trigger by discarding a card. Sanji being a blocker, but still with the 5k body, gives you a lot of flexibility on how you want to use him. Next we have Yamato. Yamato is a 9k body that comes with removal. The removal is very conditional though, and its usefulness will vary depending on which type of deck you're facing. But she can also heal 1 life if you're at 1 already. This makes her usable in Yamato, Katakuri, and she's a big enough body to even activate Queen's extra heal effect. So that was my first impression of OP04. A lot of colors that needed help finally got it. Green, black, and blue all got new toys to play with. Yellow got a new leader that'll elevate existing yellow cards. Red finally gets nothing for once, and purple continues to feel like wasted design space. Personally, I'm excited to try out a Doflamingo and a Dressrosa deck. Isho will be interesting too, and I'm especially excited to update my Mono Blue Crocodile deck with these new cards. I'm making the prediction now that Mono Blue Crocodile will be competitive in OP04. I hope you guys are excited for OP04, and I hope the English version of the game can one day be in sync with the Japanese side, so we can all enjoy the game together. But hell will probably freeze over before that happens. Okay, bye.
Card D Kaizoku.